We are back for another special episode of Meet the Innovators. I'm your host, Shemuel Namaste, Shemuel XYZ, and I have a very, very special guest, someone I consider part of the tribe, someone I consider a very dear person in our creative community, someone who unlocked me, Crystal IRBY,
okay.
1/3 of Dem Black Mamas. Tell people where you're from.
I was born and raised here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. I know people don't believe that, but it's true.
She doesn't sound like it, right?
Well, that's because of theater.
Okay.
So my theater teacher was very big on, and theater just in general, they're like, everybody does not have a Southern accent.
Right.
So, I had to learn, how to tone that accent
take
down,
Southern drawl
take the drawl out, lift my tongue more,
right,
and not let it be so lazy. And then, I left here when I was 18,
right,
for college, Florida State, and then
okay,
I was in, it's been rough
yes,
the last couple of years, but I don't do Seminoles though, but that's a whole other story.
Okay.
But then I spent 8 years in LA. Right. So I think the mixture of all of that my Southern accent is a little bit toned down until I'm talking to my family.
Then it comes out.
Yeah.
You can let it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Crystal, you are 1/3 of Dem Black Mamas.
Yes.
1/3 of the co-founders of the Dem Black Mamas Creative Week.
Black Mama Creative Week.
Black Mama Creative Week. Mm-hmm. Tell us the inspiration of this, outside the obvious of you being a black mama. How do you come to this idea of saying, you know what, let me get two more of my friends here and we're going to speak on this mind.
I was in a mommy group online and it was for black moms, and we would just have these fantastic conversations, and I was like, this should be a podcast, because I was listening to podcasts. Podcasts have exploded now, but maybe 6 years ago or something, they weren't, they were sort of new, but I just felt like the group should be a podcast. And so I asked two of my dearest friends, Nikisha Killings and Thea Monye, if they wanted to do a podcast. And they were like, yeah, we can do a podcast. Get it together, we'll do a podcast, we'll do a podcast. And so, I kept pushing, but they kind of wanted to put it off. And then 45 won the election, and they were like, we need to do a podcast. And I was like, okay. So our first podcast was our reaction as black women and as black mothers to the election. So that's how we came to the podcast. And just feeling like when we started, there really weren't, I think I found maybe 3 podcasts that were centered on black mothers, which was really, really surprising. And so our goal was to create an authentic, raw conversation about black motherhood, but we wanted to center on our experience as black women raising black children. And not center on the children, because we felt like a lot of the podcasts already did that. Okay. So our niche was kind of centering on the women. And, when we started, we really didn't have, that was our goal when we started. Right. And so as we grew, we kind of figured out what the podcast was all about. Right. We grew as people, and from there, we realized that our focus was raising free black children in an unfree world. We realized that our focus was creative, because all of us are creative, and just culturally, we're such a creative, innovative people, and black motherhood is a creative experience. For sure. Because, it has to be, you know what I'm saying? So those things have sort of become our pillars. And recently, within the last year and a half, we've added healing to that. So our pillars now are freedom, liberation, creativity, and healing.
You started with liberation. Why? stay in that space?
Because we want people to be, as Thea Monge says, free this lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We feel like that our
Free grow.
yeah, free grow, free black person living in an unfree world. You can cop this T-shirt when, he'll let me know when this airs. You'll be able to cop this T-shirt. Go to my Instagram page, TENNILE IRBY, and click the link. But free grow, a free black person living in an unfree world. Because for me, just reading a lot about Harriet Tubman and sort of the untold story of her, and people like Sojourner Truth and Mary McLeod Bethune, and also black women feminists, realizing that we're already free. Like spiritually we're free, and our souls were free, and our minds were free. And it's sort of about how you navigate being a free person in a world that doesn't want you to be free. So my personal motto is, no, we're already free. So we don't need to change. It's not us that needs to change. It's the world that needs to change. And for me, that sort of changes the narrative and takes the onus off black people. Like, we need to do more. We done done all the dying. All the sacrificing. And so it's like, we have done enough. It is time for us to heal, you know, and the world needs to do its work. So that's sort of why we focus on, those are reasons why we focus on liberation.
So, you know, with your work as a creative in this space, you also are doing doula work. So assisting, is it just black mothers?
All my clients so far has been black. But my perspective and the way that I come to doula work is from an indigenous black perspective and how I work through my doula work.
Okay,
so.
Can you break that down into more rudimentary or layman's terms when you say?
So,
what approach is different?
Okay, so I'm gonna just give sort of a historical lens. So, black women, from the time that we've entered this country, have been in charge of our births. You know, we were brought here to birth, and you know, when we were on the plantation, it was black women who were in charge of labor and birth. And we knew how to do that work. And even after enslavement was over, we were still the people in charge of birth in our community due to Jim Crow. For example, my mother and her oldest brother were born at home. And then there was this slow process of taking birth out of the hands of black women to the point where they criminalized them and even, you know, prosecuted them. And put it in the hands of white men for a whole plethora of reasons. And so if you look at history over time, that's had its cost on black women. And here we are today in a black maternal health crisis where black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth or child-related causes. Or childbirth-related causes. And so what makes a difference is having a black birth worker, a black midwife, or a black doula, not only with the black face, but also who comes to this work from a black indigenous perspective, which means, and this kind of goes back to liberation, reconnecting black women with their bodies. Because part of it is that we've been taken out of our bodies, right? Because we've been living under systemic and institutional oppression. And one of the things that was the most oppressed and controlled was our bodies, our sexuality, how, when we gave birth, you know what I'm saying? And so in order to survive, because, you know, people take pieces of black women all the time, but don't actually want, you know, black women, And so in order to survive, there's been a disconnect from our bodies. So what happens when we're in childbirth and we're disconnected from our bodies, right? And so part of the work is reconnecting black women to their bodies and helping them feel brave, trusting their bodies. And that's that black, you know, indigenous work, and really listening to a woman when she's talking about her experience and not dismissing what she's going through.
It's a place that I've learned, you know. ladies like yourself, women like yourself have helped gentlemen like us, as toxic males to get free and to get healed, to understand the other portion of ourselves, really, which is the mother. Right. Tell us what's going on in Houston, Texas.
So this is very exciting. This is very, very exciting. So part of the work that we do with Dem Black Mamas podcast is around Black maternal health. I'm a doula. Nikisha Killings is an international certified lactation consultant, and Thea Monnier is an LMFT, licensed marriage and family therapist. So all of us are rooted in healing Black women in some way. And so we are kindred partners with Black Mama Matters Alliance, which is an organization built of organizations, nonprofits, Black birth workers, midwives, and doulas committed to turning the tide of Black maternal health, and really focused on healing and uplifting the Black women who are really on the ground doing this work and not just spouting the negative statistics. And so we're kindred partners with them, and Project Row, which was founded by 7 Black artists in Houston, Texas, reached out to them because they are doing an art installation and they want the focus to be Black maternal health. So they reached out to Black Mama Matters Alliance. Black Mama Matters Alliance connected them with us, and so we'll be in Houston. I'm like, as an artist, an art installation is like, wow. Right. And it's multimedia, so really, really excited and thrilled about that. And so we'll be in Houston doing that from September 30th through October 11th, and it opens on October 12th, and it runs through February 16th of 2020. And so we've had some great brainstorming sessions. We got a concrete idea of what we want to do. And I think the main thing that I want to tell creatives, that I want to tell innovators is trust yourself, trust your instincts, because this really came about because we saw what Black Mama Matters Alliance was doing last year when they wanted to have the first Black maternal health conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I just reached out to them and I was like, we want to support you all. We want to, any way that we can support it, any way we can be a part of it. And they said to me, just like you've been watching us, we've been watching you, and we want you to come down and present. And we were like, oh my God. So, so that combined with, really stepping out and doing Black Mama Creative Week, to really let people know that motherhood is not the graveyard of dreams.
We want to thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me. This is fun.
I could talk to you forever. Crystal facilitated healing us, and it's where I gave a lot of the things that used to hold me back. And you was the first person to say, "Shem, go be free." And it changed a lot about me.
I'm a firm believer in holding ourselves to that in every aspect of our being. And it's a challenge. Even as a mom, it's a challenge. Like, how am I making sure that my motherhood is rooted in freedom and not fear? As a Black mom, that's tough. But I'm glad to hear that.
Yes. Make sure you follow Crystal and Dem Black Mamas at Dem, DEM, Delta Echo Mike.
And it's not for Democrat. It's like for them.
For them.
Them, like Black people,
mamas and them.
Black American, African American vernacular. It's like them. So we're
Dem Black Mamas.
We're Dem Black Mamas podcast across all social media platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We also have a Patreon page where you can become a patron. You can follow me at Crystal Tennille Irby on Instagram. Bible Belt Black, also Crystal Tennille Irby on Twitter. My handle is Bible Belt Black, but under that is my name, Crystal Tennille Irby. But follow us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also, big thank you to Ballard Building here at SMC, who are mentoring, sponsored the space for us, and we thank you for your time. I think this is a great episode. I want you to rewind it back.
And shout out to the crew. I always like to give a shout out to the crew because they got, y'all can't see, they got some fancy cameras and fancy lighting up in here.
We can't get them all.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Yeah.
So shout out to the crew as well.
Thank you so much for having us, for you coming into our space, actually.
Oh, you're welcome.
We're going to have another episode on the way. Thank you for watching. This is Meet the Innovators. I'm your host, Shemuel Namaste.